so beautiful. Here in you I find shelter, captivated by the splendor of your face. My secret place, I'm wide awake, drawing close, stirred by grace, and all my heart is yours. And all fear removed, I breathe you in, I lean into your love. Oh, your love. Your love so deep is washing over me. Your face is all I seek. You are my everything. Jesus Christ, you are my one desire. Lord, hear my only cry. You know you all my life. Your love so deep is washing over me. Your face is all I seek. You are my everything. Jesus Christ, you are my one desire. Lord, hear my only cry. To know you all my life. I'm wide awake, drawing close, stirred by grace, and all my heart is yours. And all fear removed, I breathe you in, I lean into your love.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Watershed. We're so glad that you're here with us today. We have a lot to celebrate. My name is Taryn. I'm on staff here. And I want to just invite you, if you're able, to stand with us. And if you're not, we just invite you to be as you are. And we're going to lift our voices together in song.
When I thought I was forgotten, you came and called me by name. You showed me I'm never forsaken, and I'm awakened to your love for me. You're my protector, my helper, friend and my king, my defender, my treasure. You're my safety, all are welcome in your arms. Because love is who you are, nothing can take you away. And I adore you for all that you are. I adore you, I pour out my heart. You adore us, and just as we are, you are God, and you are God, my ally. You'll never leave my side. You walk with me through every season, and you're the reason I'll be alright. You're my protector, my helper, friend and my king, my defender, my treasure. You're my safety, all are welcome in your arms. Because love is who you are, nothing can take you away. And I adore you for all that you are. I adore you, I pour out my heart, and you adore us. And just as I am, you are God. against me. It's your name I can call on. And when they say I'm not in your family, it's your love that calls me on. And when the voice is rising against me, it's your name I can call on. And when they say I'm not in your family, it's your love that calls me home. We adore you for all that you are. We adore you. We pour out our hearts. You adore us. And just as we are, you are God. You are God. We adore you for all that you are. We adore you. Pour out our hearts. You adore us. And just as we are, you are God. You are God, our ally. You are God. You are God, our ally. You are God. You are God, our ally.
So, in the spirit of reclaiming things within our faith, just like this series Textuality is about, we're going to reclaim a song we haven't sung in quite a long time. And if you feel like maybe some of the lyrics have been tweaked a little bit, we do that a lot, because singing together is about you, because you can be in your car by yourself and sing a song, but when we gather together, it's that great reminder to each other to sing over each other, and also that invitation to God. God is everywhere and God's presence is always with us, but there's something just a little bit different when we come before God and we open ourselves up. You are good when I can't see the good in me. You are love on display for all to see. You are light when the darkness closes in. You are hope, you embrace me as I am. You are peace when my fear is crippling. moment right now, if you would. We want to invite you to say hi to some people sitting near you. They might not be ready for handshakes or hugs, but at least introduce yourself. Keep the safe distance that you're comfortable with, and I will continue on just a little bit more. So let's go ahead and say hi. And if you're online, please let us know where you're tuning in from. Maybe say hi to each other in the comment section on both Facebook and YouTube. We're glad you're here this morning. Let's just sing this out one more time. Your kingdom come, your will be done in us, in us. Your kingdom come, your will be done in us, in us. Your kingdom come. Sing it out. For singing with us. You can have a seat.
Good morning. My name is Matt, and I'm a pastor here at Watershed. Thank you for, thank you. A little validation never hurt anybody, right? Thank you. All right, that's it. That's all I got today. I just needed that. No, actually, there's some things I want to share that are opportunities for ways to connect in the fall and some opportunities to maybe step in and help create connection. Of course, there's something that's getting ready to happen in a couple hours here. I can't remember. Oh, yeah, the Pride Parade. So I want to cover all of that. Actually, why don't we start there? If you're here, as you are here this morning, or if you're joining us online and you're planning on meeting up for the parade, to walk the parade, I wanted to make sure that, first of all, there should be a slide for this, but I think at 1245 at the corner of 10th and 11th Street on Tryon is where everybody is being asked to arrive and to prepare to walk from there. If you are a fan and you're wanting to just watch the parade and you want to do that with some Watershed folks, I'm told that around 6th and 7th Street, between 6th and 7th Street, I'm assuming on Tryon, just look for the Queerly Beloved t-shirts and you'll see the Watershed crew there. And then if you're wanting to attend a watch party, Petty Thieves on the north side of town, there's something there at noon. Quite a few Watershed folks are going to show up there. So really excited about this. This has been something we've been talking about for 3 years now, since the last time we were able to do this, and really hope you'll join us, even if this morning's your first time. We'd love to have you be a part of that. Also, if this is your first time or you're interested, you've been around for a while, and you're wanting to engage in some of the more robust theological discourse that takes place here, there's 2 environments that are going to start September 13th, Tuesday night, 6:30, with childcare, something called Preface. And Preface is kind of this experience for folks who are brand new, who are really interested in hearing a little bit about like how Watershed has come to some of the conclusions that it's come to, what it means to be a part of this community, and then like front-loading you with particular tools or conversations about what it means for you to continue to grow your own spiritual journey within the context of ours. And so want to make you aware that that's available. You can sign up via the QR code for both Preface and I think Reclamation as well. But Reclamation, oh, there we go. There's a QR code for Reclamation. Reclamation is an environment where, as you are trying to make sense of the emerging spiritual, theological world that might feel like it's slipping underneath your feet, Reclamation helps you find some grounding in that. It talks about larger theological, philosophical, spiritual, religious kind of conversations that have things to do with the Bible, belief systems, and how that might be relevant for us today and what we get to do with that now within the context of community. It's a lot of fun. It's 4 weeks. It's a little heavier of a teaching environment, but there's still dialogue and interchange. Would love to have you sign up for either one of those. I'm trying not to go too fast, but there's quite a bit here this morning. Also, back last spring, we spent a significant amount of time and energy as a community trying to lean in and ask, what do we need as a church, as we re-engage, as we're coming out of all that's been true for the last couple of years? What are the types of environments or experiences that we need to be mindful of, especially moving into the fall as things typically start to reemerge? And some of the things that we heard in that was the need to just be together. Like, we just want to be together. Sorry. I'm realizing I need that. So one of the things that we're experimenting with is the hosting or the launching of several like organic, quasi-planned events or environments that have something to do with like a nature walk or maybe a common meal. Now, I said a lot there. Here's why I'm naming it. Here in a couple of weekends and in a Zoom call, we are going to extend the invitation for anyone that might be interested in hosting or orchestrating something like that, who would be interested in hearing more, maybe have some orientation around, okay, this is how you do it. The goal would be for this to be really like accessible for our community, so that this fall, as we're coming back together, like we have opportunities that extend beyond what takes place here and bleed into other parts of the greater Charlotte area, whether that's in Matthews or Pineville or University or Huntersville. We don't know, because we need you to help us begin to envision where these things could happen. All that to be said, on Sunday, September 3rd, right after this gathering, there's going to be a brief meeting, orientation type experience. If you're not available that day and you would like to be included in a virtual space immediately following that, I'm not sure we have that date nailed down. Either way, you can go to the QR code, express interest, and we'll start to loop you in. And then as those things start to happen, we're going to let our community know about those, and there will be ways for you to sign up and actually participate. All right. Pride, fall ops. Okay. There's quite a bit of a list here. Last thing. Second to last thing. Next Sunday, immediately following this gathering, there's something called a lunch bunch event. It's going to be in the preface room. As if you're interested in knowing what's going to be taking place with our kids area and our student ministry area over the next between now and Christmas, and really the next year, like, you need to come to this event. If you have a child, we'd love to have you. Even if you don't have a child and you want to be informed, or maybe you'd like to get involved, this is an opportunity for you to hear the vision, for you to hear some of the things that our team is thinking about. Blair, who is overseeing those areas moving forward. Like, if for us to be able to sit in a room, or for you to be able to sit in a room and say, oh, wow, like, this is really interesting. What can I do? Or tell me more. This is an opportunity for you to be informed. Again, August 28th, 11:30 a.m. And then finally, thank you. Those of you who continue to take seriously, or continue to take to have some sort of passionate response to the invitation to allow your generosity to fuel this place. Every week, part of what we invite people into is to say, all right, would you be a part of allowing your resources on a regular basis, or just randomly, if that's the way that you can show up, to be able to help Watershed continue to stay on course with its work, with its mission, with the thing that we're trying to create here, with the way that we're including people. It takes around $11,000 a weekend for that to happen. Summers are sometimes a little more lean for all the reasons that you can imagine. But as you're moving into the fall, or even today, if you feel compelled, there's ways to give through the QR code. And each month, what we invite our community to do is to take on 5 brand new recurring givers each month. I'm not sure where we are in the tracking of that this month, but usually if we can include 5 new families or 5 new households around $100 or more, the way that that continues to fuel us is really powerful. And I want to thank you in advance for those of you who have been doing that, and for those of you who are considering it. We're welcome. We would love to have you be a part of that. Boy, I feel like I just ran a marathon, and now I get to go walk in a parade. So there we go. Thanks for being here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Austin Applefield, and a big happy parade day to you. All right, I've selected a passage of hope for our beautifully diverse group of students here at Watershed as they enter into a new school year. It's written by author Jacob Tobiah, they, them, and I'm a huge fangirl of them. I could hear the click-clack of my heels on the brick hallway. Click. A boy starts a ballet class and doesn't worry about what his friends will say. Clack. A college student reads Judith Butler. Click. A transgender person understands that while they have a difficult life to face, they will not be alone. Clack. A friend struggling with bulimia realizes that she is beautiful. Click. All people, man and woman, realize that in some small way, they have not been true to themselves. And the bonds of gender stereotypes and heterosexism dissolve into truth. And here's the remarkable thing about self-love. When you start to love yourself for the first time, when you start to truly embrace who you are, flaws and all, your scars start to look a lot more like beauty marks. Here's a prayer for us all. Be reminded as you head into school, work, onto campus, wherever else that might be for you, that the love God has for you, and yes, that includes those of you who don't fit into the binary boxes or he, she pronouns, that this divine love is unfathomable, unconditional, and strolls along you in fabulous pumps. That we may walk hand in hand together, supporting and loving all people as we find our own truths this coming year. And should you need a big, ugly cry mom hug and a reminder of this unimaginable love, my arms are open and here for you. Amen.
So this song was written by Joe Stevens, also known as Coyote Grace, who is one of the first fully out transgender men to make their mark with an autobiographical song in the indie folk scene. Have you heard of them yet? No, but you'll wish you did.
My haircut don't look right, my clothes don't fit just right. Them boy clothes are too big and the girls too tight. My feet, they look too small and I am very tall. I fight with my mom every time I go to the mall. If I can be a daughter's son, I ain't nothing at all. The teachers all are thrown, public school is a war zone. Kids won't leave me and my queenie brother alone. Hey girl, don't get picked to be on teams, though I'm scrappy and I mean, those girls, they seem to look right through me. My body has betrayed me, my life is sunset and black as night. If I had only known about those girls, yeah, they saw me alright. I look just like a man, but you don't know all I am. I won't fit into your boxes or your plans. My scars across my chest, Dr. Brownstein is the best, and ain't no one can make me wear a dress. I have toes, yeah, doesn't mean you do it too. You don't know what it's like now, do you? Well, maybe some of you. say I'm going to hell, and I've been down that well. But God is a big boy, he can speak for himself. Don't mess with God's design, but where do you draw the line? How about Botox, diet pills, facelifts, braces, nuclear warfare, deforestation, laser hair removal, hydrogenated oils, and, oh yeah, Viagra. Well, I think I'm doing fine. And you're so scared of everything. You shout these rules that you invent. And who are you to force me to believe what you think Jesus meant? You know, he did have long hair and wore a dress. Disguise. The pain has made me wise. Oh, my people, stand, be seen, and we will rise. My body is my home, and I'll never be alone. I found my home behind this microphone. Well, I have chose my consequence. I've chosen my name. If I can be a daughter, son, we're one and the same.
Well, good morning, Watershed. Good morning. All right. Y'all are the most special, beautiful group of people I've ever been around, and that includes my prison time. So y'all are the deal. Thank y'all. Thank you for that music. Thank you, Austin, for what you shared. Everything's already been so beautiful. We can go home now, but I need some attention, so we're going to stay for 30 more minutes. Okay, good morning. My name is Kim Honeycutt, and I am a psychotherapist, trauma recovery consultant, and now also I'm part of the teaching team here at Watershed. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that impromptu, organic, warm response to that. Thank you. I love being part of Watershed. Let me tell you my day job real quick first, though. So I'm a psychotherapist. Let me tell you what that means. I have this amazing privilege to be a part of someone's journey as they walk alone and learn how to step into who they actually are, how to get out of their old story and be a part of a new story that God has for them, how to learn to be authentic. It is the absolute best job in the world. I love doing it. And part of my niche, what I love to do is talk about the intersection of psychology and theology. So I get to do that here with you today. But before I do that, I have two confessions, and I'm going to start with just one. And this is biblical. This is part of James. So just to let you know, I'm doing something biblical at Watershed. So, and this may already be obvious. You might be able to look at me and tell this already, what I'm about to say. No, not that. We've already come out about that. Not that. That's not it. That's not it. My confession is that I'm no longer cool. I'm not cool. And maybe I never was, but I really thought I was cool. And I'm not anymore. I found out about this thing. I just learned about this about 3 weeks ago. You may have already known about this thing called tic-tac-toe, this app, this TikTok video thingy, the TikTok thing, whatever that people are doing. And the only reason I found out is that on Instagram, you can't just post anymore, right? It can't be words. Everything's a video. Everything's a reel. And so I saw this woman, and I didn't have a choice. It's just there. And so she started talking, and she took time, and she said, hey, I want to thank Maddie Zom for being so authentic, being so real in her lyrics. And since I'm not cool, I don't know who this Maddie person is. So I Googled her. And what came up was a song she wrote. And it's called You Might Not Like Her. And I feel like this was a God wink. So I want to read to you the first part of these lyrics. This is Maddie, you might not like her. If you would have told me I'd throw away my purity ring in the middle of an airport, my younger self would laugh, would never believe that. It's against everything that we stood for. She'd hate that I smoked weed and cussed frequently, and she'd try to convert everyone I call a bestie. Next part, please. You'll throw shots in the dark and black out at a bar. There'll be good and there'll be bad parts. Someday you'll kiss a girl and you'll panic. Someday some guy will break your heart and you will feel manic. Then you'll learn to let people have their opinions and talk about your traumas and like the body you live in. Someday you'll learn to keep your own secrets, say you're doing okay, and really mean it. You'll lose your faith a bit and question if she's you. For a while, you might not like her, but I do. So that song resonates with me, and I can hear so much in this. I can hear her new self talking to her younger self. I can hear her new self trying to help the old self reconcile what they were taught and what actually is truthful for her and what she can actually trust and who can she trust now. I can hear her struggle. I can even hear what I'm going to guess what the scriptures are that were taught to her. And I think these scriptures are beautiful, and I think a lot of us have had someone misinterpret those. And when scripture is misinterpreted, we misapply it. I can hear her believing that parts of her life that there should be death of self, that she should deny herself, that there should be all decrease of self, that anything about self is wrong. And when there is an absence of self, in that void we put behavior. And I can hear that's what she did. And if you know my story, you know that that's what happened to me. And happens to so many of us. That part of my walk has been how to reconcile that culturally in society and in families and in churches I've been told that any connection to self is selfish. And so a lot of times if you met me, you didn't meet me, you met a trauma response. You didn't meet me, you met a survival strategy. You met productivity. You met performance. You met perfectionism. I didn't know how to connect to myself or you, so I had a relationship with food in a disordered way. I knew how to have a relationship with alcohol, not with you. I knew how to have a relationship with self-mutilation. I didn't know how to connect to myself, to you, and there was no way I understood how to connect to God. And so this is why I'm so excited about this series and being able to share with you. This is why this is so important. See, I truly believe that we are on a growth path. We're called to grow and grow in love. And anything that you neglect cannot grow. And in 2 Corinthians 5:17, we're taught that therefore, anyone in Christ, anyone who belongs to Christ, they will be a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. See, belong is an emotional need. It is evidence of accumulation of emotional needs have been met, they've been fulfilled, and there's a connection, and because of that, you have a sense of belonging. And emotional needs are things like, I need to be seen. I need to be heard. I need to feel important. And most of all, I need to feel safe. And that means I need to know that I can be safely seen. Those are emotional needs. You see, so many of us who grew up in some type of environment, to be at the table was just about fitting in. We had to say certain things to stay at the table, not say certain things to stay at that table. We had to act certain ways or not act certain ways in a very inauthentic way. It was more survival strategy just so we could fit in at the table. And if you have emotional needs, and we all do, and they aren't seen, and then on top of that, someone even shames you for having those emotional needs. You don't know you're worthy to be at the table, much less worthy to belong to Jesus. And so that's why we have to figure out, how do we look at the old story? How do we get an understanding of our old self? And the scripture tells us to behold. And behold means that you have a different perspective, that you're able to see something differently than how it originally came in. And in order for us to be new, to have new ideas, a new understanding of our sense of self, in order for us to be able to have that, then we have to have permission to actually look at ourselves. That permission to connect to ourselves. See, if we're separate from ourselves, we're also separate from love. And that means you're actually living and walking in the very definition of trauma. So let me unpack trauma for a second. And there's a lot of therapists here who could probably do a better job than I can on this. And you've probably watched those tic-tac-toes about trauma, so you probably already have an understanding. But let me unpack this for a second. So trauma means disconnection. Disconnection from self, disconnection from safety. It means something came into your life at some point that you did not have internal resources for. It was beyond your capacity. And so a lot of therapists talk about little T's and big T's. Little traumas, big traumas. And I understand that. I understand we need to classify it. But I want you to hear this. That when we do that and say little T and big T, you will now actually probably stay in your old story, because you will decide, no matter what, that your trauma is a little T, so there's no point in looking at it. So I think it's really important that we not compare. Trauma is trauma. Pain is pain. And so just understanding what they actually mean by little T is that there are single incident traumatic events. And so let's say a car accident, and I'm not saying this to trigger you in any way, but let's just say a simple car accident, just because you're on 77, that's just what happens, right? No one got hurt, nothing happened, but your car got damaged, and so you're inconvenienced. So that's a single incident trauma. But now the idea of getting on the interstate causes you to go into your old story. Your body re-experiences what you already experienced. You can go into your old story. So that's the threat, it's being on the interstate. For other of us, we have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And there's many different branches of that. I'm just going to talk today about relationship trauma as a complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm talking about relationship trauma because I believe, and this is probably an underscore, I believe 99.9% of us have relationship trauma. If you are breathing and have family members, if you're at Watershed, there's a possibility. So, and this is why this is so important for us, to be able to look at this and be able to have a chance of coming into a new creation, be able to look at this differently, behold it differently. Is that complex PTSD means that you're disconnected from self, safety, and trust. It means your emotional needs, particularly as a child, from attachment figures, authority, people who are very important. It could be a spouse as an adult, but particularly as children, the people who are there to show up for us if they don't see our emotional needs. And then, as I said earlier, they shame you for even having the emotional needs. That is complex PTSD. And we learn to be separate from ourselves. With the car, the threat is the interstate. for those of us who have relationship trauma, the threat is connection to self. The threat is being in a relationship with you. And so we constantly stay in behavior, and it becomes about being attached to tasks instead of being connected to people. We actually get taught, and this is happening through Scripture, we actually get taught that it's not about who we are to each other, but what we can do for each other. I just don't think that's godly. And so there's Scripture that's teaching us to actually stay separate from who we are. That is trauma. So David spoke a few weeks ago, and he talked about a lot of us are taught, particularly as children, that the definition of salvation is being saved from self. And he gave us different ideas of that. Because again, that means that you aren't allowed to be self, that something's wrong with self. And so I'm just going to tell you my definition of salvation is I believe I've been saved to be in the process of being introduced to myself, to my true self, to how God sees me and experiences me. And I think the evidence of this are the two greatest commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, or your mind, or your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. So I think the greatest commandment, telling us to love with our heart, our mind, and our soul, I think that is clarity that we have to have a sense of self. And that sense of self is what builds to the second greatest commandment, because that means that we have a responsibility to have agency over self. So that when we show up for a neighbor, we show up for the neighbor. So let me unpack a little bit about heart, mind, and soul, and the science that goes behind when it comes to trust and attachment. So your heart are your emotional needs, what we talked about earlier, and you need to be seen safely. And when those types of emotional needs, and these are for your whole life, when they are met, someone fulfills them, then that creates trust with that person, and that is the connection. That we have to be seen, and we have to be heard, and have a sense of belonging. And then our soul has many interpretations, but many of us believe that your soul is actually intuition. And this is being taught to trust yourself, which means you have to do your own emotional needs. You have to see yourself, hear yourself, interact with yourself in a way that you can trust your body, that you can trust your own gut. And the mind, and just so you know, the mind and the brain are two separate things. And don't ask me more than that. I'm not smart enough to tell you anything beyond that. They're just two separate things. They have different functionalities. Your mind is your regulator. It's there for awareness. And inside of our mind, we get to do this amazing thing called mentalization. But to be able to do the mentalization, I'm going to tell you what it is. It means you have to have a sense of self and a sense of understanding of your heart and your soul. And that leads to awareness, being able to do mentalization for each other. Mentalization is really cool. What it means is that I hold your mind in mind. I hold your mind in mind. So that when you are sharing with me, I have resolved what's happening inside of me. I'm not making what you're saying to me or what you're going through about me at all, because my needs are fulfilled. I can listen to you and hear you from your mind, from what I think it's like for you, and from that place I can ask you questions. As a psychotherapist, this is an invaluable tool. This is a beautiful thing to be a part of. That when someone shares something with me, I'm not looking for them to have a need so I can jump in there and do something for them. Because, see, my needs are fulfilled. I don't have to do that. I don't need them to experience something the same way I've experienced it. I've got capacity. I have a sense of self. I know my heart and my mind and my intuition. And so what they share is about them. I think this is the missing key to being able to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. To let their experience be their experience. It is compassion and empathy with curiosity. And that ability to mentalize, that is what leads to people being able to trust us. And all three of these have to do with trust. See, in the world of psychology, we can't do anything simple at all. We just can't. So we don't just say trust. It's called epistemic trust. So when you're able to mentalize, when you're able to be there and be present with somebody, and they have a secure connection with you, and you have a secure connection with yourself. It means that you're listening to me talk. If you have epistemic trust with me, then you will decide what I'm sharing, what's relevant and what's irrelevant. You can filter through it. You can decipher and decide what applies to you and what does not apply to you. It means if I give you new information, you can have your own agency over yourself. You can decide what to take in and what not in order for you to become a new creation. But a lot of us have had situations, especially relationship trauma, where we've had to trust people who aren't trustworthy. So there's two other types of trust that I want to share with you. The first is called hypervigilant trust. Hypervigilant means that my trust has been so broken, my trust meter is just off the charts, and I don't care what you share with me. I'm not taking it in. Nothing new will come in. I will only know and understand what I already know and understand. That I won't trust anything that you say. So nothing new. I don't change at all. I can't look at it or behold it differently. And all of us have epistemic hypovigilant trust. Hypo means that we believe everything. It means all it takes is that you are in the same political party as me and you say something, then I'm just going to take it in. That there's no healthy skepticism. There's no questioning. So when we actually have epistemic trust, we are curious and we can ask questions. We can disagree with someone without losing a sense of stability and security with themselves or with ourselves. They did an experiment, which I think is fascinating, and so they took moms and children, fairly young children, and they took a group of moms who had secure attachment, meant that they were attuned to their children. They were very aware of their children's emotional needs. And they took some moms that had insecure attachment. And they gave the moms these stuffed animals. And 2/3 of the stuffed animal was a horse. 1/3 was a cow. And so the mom, the secure mom, would give it to the child with a secure connection with the child and say, "Hey, little Larissa." They hand it to them and say, "This is a cow." And the baby would laugh, say, No, it's not, Mommy. And the baby was allowed to question, to laugh about it, to be able to disagree with their mom without stress, something I've never experienced in my life, come to think of it. That just hit me. I've never done that. So the moms have insecure attachment with their kids. They would give the child the same stuffed animal, and they would say, "This is a cow." And the kids would just stare at them. They would just agree. They wouldn't do anything. There was no room to question. There was no room to mistrust. That when we are in healthy relationships and we're stepping out of relationship trauma and we're able to trust, it means that we explore and we're curious and we decide as we become new creations what new information could come in. So I just don't believe that, particularly a lot of us, our initial story, our old story, our first story, your core narrative, I just don't believe that's supposed to be your forever story. And I think one of the stories in the Bible that just captures this so well and speaks about it is the story of the blind man. And so I know a lot of you probably know this. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. So there's this man who's been blind since birth. And Jesus comes along and spits on him, this holy spit, does something that I would go to jail for, but he can do this. Throws some holy spit his way. And helps this man now have sight. So this man's been blind his whole life, and now he has sight. Well, the Pharisees hear about this. They call him in front of them to present what was happening. They call his parents in. They can't take in what's happened. They call this man back in. ask him questions. And this is where we go to John 9:26. And then they asked him, what did Jesus do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answers, I've told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too? See, he's standing there in front of them as a new creation. He's standing there as someone who is loving the Lord his God with all his heart, mind, and soul. He's standing on his own evidence, having epistemic trust with Jesus. He doesn't have to trust this people because he trusts himself and he trusts what Jesus just did for him. But see, they are in their old story, so they can't see his new story because it challenges where they are too much. So they hurled insults at him. They said, you are this fellow's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. Some name dropping. We know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this fellow, Jesus, we don't even know where he comes from. Can you hear the distrust? That all they can do is stand in what they already know. All they can do is trust their life experience. And so if they take in what has happened to this man, that he is a new person, then they would actually have to look at themselves, and they can't do that. We are called to know that we belong. And in that, as we're told in the first commandment, we are beloved. Beloved means there is a deep affection. It's God's tender love for you. And a lot of us have to behold certain things differently before we can really get it, that we belong and we're beloved. So y'all know that last year, my wife and I, by the way, I want y'all to know there are bets on how many times I'm going to say today, my beautiful wife, Larissa. So the only reason I haven't said it 20 times is because there's money on this. Just telling you. So this thing happened, my beautiful wife, Larissa, and I, and this is my second confession, my final confession to you today. That last year when we came out, y'all know that my speaking opportunities dried up as a result. And this year, they resurfaced. Some things happened. And so Larissa and I, my beautiful wife, Larissa, and I, that's 3, thank you, sir, thank you. I just lost $20. All right, that's fine. It's worth it to say. We went to one of my first new speaking engagements. We pulled up at the church and we saw the denomination of the church. And based on our own post-traumatic stress disorder, what we've been through, we said, uh-oh. And so my wife said, my beautiful wife, Larissa, said, she said, just don't introduce me as your wife. I said, okay. So I go in and I do what I love to do, which is share about God. And afterwards, I was talking to a lot of people. And this is my confession. I want y'all to know, not only did I not introduce her as my wife, I just didn't introduce her at all. And we got in the car, and we talked about how I didn't see her. I didn't hear her. I didn't give her a sense of belonging. And I didn't do any of that for myself either. And we made a decision that I won't go anywhere to speak or go anywhere, period, ever again, that I cannot show up as the new creation I am, married to Larissa. So I want you to know that's post-traumatic growth. We are called to be on a path of growth and to love each other as we love our neighbor, and to know that we are beloved by God, and to research and look at our hearts, our souls and minds, so we can stand firm in front of anybody, knowing that we are worthy of being beloved. You know, a lot of us are leaving here today and going to the parade. And if you're not going, you're going to go into a corporate boardroom, or you're going to go see your family. You're going to go somewhere where somebody is going to hurl insults at you. And that's going to happen to us today. And we're going to stand there knowing that we belong to the God who created the whole world in 6 days. that we know who we've been called to be, and we're going to stand there proudly, knowing that there is no shame being a new creation. That who we are, gives us the name of chosen. We get to be called beloved, and we belong. So there's some people today that might not like us, but we do. We do. Let me pray for you. God, I thank you. I thank you that we are called to behold and to see some horrible things we've been through, to see it differently, so that we can see ourselves the way that you see us. I thank you that we get to have new experiences today, and more importantly, the new has come. The old has passed away. And there's no insult, there's no words, and no action that can take away the love that you have for us. God, I thank you as we're in this journey, there may be times that we don't even like ourselves, but I thank you that you always do. It's in your Son's name these things are prayed. Amen.
If you would have told me I'd throw away my purity ring in the middle of an airport, my younger self would laugh, would never believe that it's against everything that we stood for. She'd hate that I've smoked weed and cussed frequently. She'd try to convert everyone I call a bestie. You'll throw shots in the dark, then black out at a bar. There'll be good, then there'll be bad parts. Someday you'll kiss a girl and you'll panic. Some guy'll break your heart and you'll feel manic. Then you learn to let people have their opinions and talk about your traumas like the body you live in. Someday you'll learn to keep your own secrets. Say you're doing okay and really mean it. You lose your faith a bit and question if she's you. For a while you might not like her, but I do. Some days feel like whiplash 180s, and you'll hate that you'll label yourself just to take it back. Convinced you're not bi, 'cause you're way too into guys. The first time you have sex, you'll cry. You'll sometimes skip meals and numb how you feel, and you'll miss the old you, but here's the deal. That good girl you were was really freaking bad at being real. Someday you'll kiss a girl and you'll panic. Some guy'll break your heart and you'll feel manic. Then you learn to let people have their opinions and talk about your traumas like the body you live in. Someday you'll learn to keep your own secrets. Say you're doing okay and really mean it. You lose your faith a bit and question if she's you. For a while you might not like her, but I do. Oh, oh, oh. You might not like her. You might not like her. Oh, oh, oh. You might not like her. You might not like her. Someday you think you'll disappoint your parents, but they'll love you not despite, but regardless. And you learn to let people have shoddy opinions and talk about your traumas and like the body you live in. Someday you'll learn to keep your own secrets. Say you're doing okay and really mean it. God, we thank you for speaking to us through Kim today. We thank you for the anomaly that is a faith community that embraces all. And we are still learning and still have so much yet to learn. But God, you are so good. And the vastness of your love continues to permeate all that we don't know and allows us to love like you do. And may we do that, God. Be with us as we go throughout today, as we celebrate our LGBTQIA community and friends and family. And may you be seen most of all. We love you. Amen. Please join us at the corner of 10th, I believe, and Trade. The Kindred community would love you to show up in March. You don't need the t-shirt, but if you want some, there's some out in the hallway. And if you just want to stand on the sidelines and cheer, you can do that too around 6th and 7th Street along Tryon. We hope to see you there. Have a great week.